Has this WWE Hall of Famer wrestled their final match? But first, let's go to the latest on the arrest of AEW's Cash Wheeler. On August 18, news would break that one half of the reigning AEW World Tag Team Champions, Cash Wheeler, had been arrested in Florida on charges of aggravated assault with a firearm. This followed an alleged road rage incident on July 27, which led to a warrant for his arrest the next day. Well, we now have more information on the allegations made against Wheeler, as the Orange County clerk has posted the sworn affidavit, which details the alleged victim's side of the story. The written statement comes from the officer assigned to the case, and here is a shortened version with some details removed to avoid revealing identities, number plates, and addresses in certain cases, and it reads: On July 27, 2023, officer responded in reference to an aggravated assault with firearm call. Upon my arrival, I spoke to the victim, who provided me with a sworn written verbal statement that said the following. The victim stated he was driving west on Interstate 4, north of exit 83. He noticed a Jeep Gladiator weaving in and out of traffic, honking its horn, so he moved over to the far right lane to let the Jeep pass. The victim said the Jeep took the right shoulder to drive around him on the passenger side of this vehicle. The victim looked over and noticed a white male with a beard pointing a black semi-automatic handgun out of the driver's window at him with a strong stare. The victim said he feared for his life at this time. The victim stated he slowed down to get out of the way of the firearm and ended up behind the suspect vehicle at this time. At this time, both were committed to exit 83 Ivano Boulevard. The victim took pictures of the Jeep as it turned right onto College Park Drive and began to drive recklessly. After taking the picture, the victim said he called 911 and gave the vehicle information to dispatch the details of what occurred. He explained he could not be late for work and asked an officer to meet him at his work. The victim is said to have identified Wheeler in a photo lineup that was created using the suspect's driver's license, with them selecting the correct image with 100% certainty. This, alongside the victim's sworn statement, allowed probable cause to charge Wheeler with aggravated assault with a firearm. It is worth reiterating that Cash Wheeler has pled not guilty at this time through his attorney. One question surrounding the situation is if Cash will be able to travel to London for next weekend's All-In pay-per-view at Wembley Stadium, where he's scheduled to tag with FTR teammate Dax Harwood to defend their AEW tag titles against the Young Bucks. Whilst it has been confirmed that Wheeler was not asked to surrender his passport by the Circuit Court of Orange County, this according to PW Insider, it remains to be seen if there will be any issues when trying to get past the UK border control. Whilst leaving the United States won't be an issue, it's up to the destination country to decide if entry is allowed, a decision that will likely be made at border control after the plane lands. That's assuming that he already has his visa. According to unlock.org.uk, a site that offers advice to those travelling with a criminal record, those entering the UK that have been charged but not yet tried in court will need to declare this when applying for a visa or when entering border control. This may potentially cause issues depending on the charge. With that said, Cash and AEW will likely have a legal team that understand the complexities of this better than we do, and from what we understand, all plans are still in place. Last night on AEW Rampage, the promotion would confirm that FTR will appear on tonight's episode of Collision, which will be followed by a face-to-face interview on Wednesday's episode of Dynamite. On top of this, AEW World Champion MJF would call out certain fans for jumping to conclusions regarding what Cash did, and suggested instead of talking about that, talk about the fact that we're getting FTR versus Young Bucks on August 27, and here's hoping he's right. And speaking of AEW All In, a new paid wrestling attendance record has been set. In the lead up to All Elite Wrestling's biggest ever show at Wembley Stadium next weekend, much of the talk in the lead up to the event has been regarding the attendance, with the promotion already beating their own attendance record by 4 times. With that said, the event has now reportedly surpassed an even bigger milestone, that being the all-time paid attendance record in wrestling history. According to a report from WrestleTix, AEW All in London has now sold 80,846 tickets, surpassing the previous record of 80,709 tickets set by WWE with WrestleMania 32 at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas in 2016. Whilst the figure released by the company themselves at the time was 101,763, Vince McMahon himself has admitted that this did include, quote, ushers and ticket takers and all that, with Fightful later reporting that the real number comes from the Arlington Police Department directly. As further evidence that the initial number was inflated, WWE's official Q3 financial report last year revealed that the paid attendance for WrestleMania 32 was somewhere in the range of 73,111 and 85,888, a range that the 80,709 number from the Arlington Police falls between. Whilst the all-time attendance record of all time sits with the NJPW WCW Collision in Korea event held in 1995, the vast majority of attendees weren't paying guests and weren't given much choice in the matter by the Korean government, which is why it's important to consider the amount of paid tickets only, a record AEW has now surpassed. Whilst many will put the success of the event down to the fact that the United Kingdom is a starved market when it comes to large-scale wrestling events, WWE have held pay-per-views in the nation in the past, although they perhaps lacked the confidence of pulling such a high number. The most recent WWE pay-per-view held in the UK was this year's Money in the Bank, with WWE opting to book the O2 Arena, which has a capacity of around 20,000, and prior to this, they chose to book the smaller Principality Stadium in Cardiff, Wales for Clash at the Castle, in front of just over 60,000 people. With that said, the All in London event will no doubt be seen as a proof of concept for WWE to push the boat out in the UK at some point in the future, with the target of taking back the record AEW just took from them. This competition is only good news for British wrestling fans. In other ticket news, WWE are also breaking records for themselves, as yesterday tickets would go on sale for WrestleMania 40, with them surpassing their previous gate record, which is revenue generated by ticket sales. Whilst the exact number is unknown, sports business reporter Darren Rovell is reporting that next year's WrestleMania has already beaten the $21.5 million generated by this year's show, with 90,000 tickets being sold across both nights so far. And next has this WWE Hall of Famer wrestled their final match. Last night on Friday Night SmackDown, hometown hero Edge would return to Toronto, Canada, where he found himself going one-on-one with fellow former WWE champion Sheamus. Leading into the match, we heard talk of this being the Rated R Superstars' final match inside a wrestling ring, something the man himself couldn't confirm or deny in a recent interview with ET Canada, although he did reveal that it was the last match on his current WWE contract. On the night, it would be Edge who left with his hand raised in front of the adoring crowd as he dodged a brogue kick from the Irishman, with a spear being enough to put him away for the 1-2-3. After the show went off the air, Edge would address the recent rumours of this being his last match, and whilst he wasn't able to confirm that he was retiring, he would note that the bout was his last in Toronto, and he would say, "What I said last week in Calgary is true. Sheamus is the reason that I was able to get back in here. That's no lie, that's no character. Steven is the reason I was able to get back in here. So basically I want to hear it for Sheamus. That dude has showed all of you the work ethic he has, and that's why you still react to him all these years later, and damn, he hits like a mule. I'm okay if that's one and done." Edge would go on to thank his trainer Ron Hutchinson, whilst also paying tribute to his own wife Beth Phoenix, as well as his kids, before dropping a bombshell on the Toronto audience when he said, "What I can say is that this is my last one in front of y'all. I don't think I can make it another full run to get here again for a match. I'm just being honest with you, but don't let that be a downer because man, what an experience you all gave me. I will never forget it. I will never forget it. When I'm 84 years old and I don't remember much, I'm damn sure going to remember this. Thank you." Regarding the feeling within WWE as to the Rated R Superstars' future, they appear to be just as unsure as the rest of us, with the feeling being that the decision is up to Edge and Edge alone, and WrestleVotes would take to Twitter to report. Asked if anything changed post-show regarding the status of Edge going forward, source said he hasn't signed a new contract as of now, and the feeling among creative and others is that of unknown. The ball is truly in his court. We now wait to find out what Edge's next move will be, with the majority of the WrestlePlanet community feeling he will soon show up in All Elite Wrestling, with this being the #1 voted option in our ongoing poll about his future, with retirement coming in as a close second. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 facts that MJF doesn't want you to know.